Okay, well, it's now time for part two, as I'm calling it, which is the parliamentary screening of Andrea's film Don't Cry. And Don't Cry has received 28 awards and accolades around the world at major international film festivals. Andrea appears in the short film, which she commissioned from director Lindsay Attenborough. It's based on Andrea's book White Sorrow, which charts her journey from a dream wedding that descended, quite frankly, into a nightmare marriage of starvation and mental torture. And Andrea's primary aim, which I know she's going to bring to life in a moment, is to help and inspire women and girls who've experienced violence and abuse. Let's now take a look at Don't Cry.
Throughout our lives, we wear many different faces.
What's yours is mine. I deserve all the money for marrying you. Do you think anyone could love you? You are worthless. Don't you dare leave the house looking the way you do. You should be ashamed.
Give me the strength to walk out and take my children with me. Let me start a new life for us. A happy one. Don't cry, Mommy.
This is you. This is Mommy. This is me.
No, Daddy. Of course, we don't have a daddy. Do you want some milk? My happiest face is the brave one I wear today.
Wow. I nearly came in too quickly with our thanks then, so I'm really pleased that we got to see the last bit as well. So thank you, Andrea, for sharing your film Don't Cry with us. If I can get Lindsay and Samia to join us on the panel as well, that'd be great. And you're certainly right, throughout our lives we certainly do wear so many different faces. So welcome, Andrea. I know this is a very important day for you and your children in particular, and also welcome to Lindsay and Samia. And in essence, you're all here to talk about really the importance of helping survivors tell their stories through the power of film, through digital media and creative expression, really to help shape and inform policy going forward. So there's that purpose there. And Andrew, if I can start with you, having previously written about your experience in your book White Sorrow, which aimed to give, as I mentioned, women inspiration to get out of abusive relationships. Why did you then decide to go on and make a film with Lindsay?
First of all, I need to say thank you to all of you for coming here. I've gotten a little tongue-tied because I feel emotional, especially after hearing Sarah and the others speak and say about how many victims there are and how many people die, especially the children. Children get me all the time, so yeah. I promised myself I wouldn't tear up. I feel it coming on.
Yes.
So sorry about that.
No, absolutely. I understand that completely. I think I've got some tissues in here as well, which I'm going to pass to you in a minute.
Okay. Well, the reason why I wanted to make a film, as to say, is because there is a power in seeing something. So I'm not much of a reader unless I'm researching something. But when you actually watch something, and I'm not an actress, so that is my story, and I wanted to play my own part so that others could connect with me and know exactly how hard it is to be in that situation, live through that, do it again, and know that I'm not an actress, but I'm actually, someone who's been through that and come out the other side. Making this with Lindsay was very important for me. It meant the world to me because other women can see, they can see the strength, connect, and know that their children can have a better life. You don't have to stay in that kind of a marriage, no matter what society tells you. I was actually sent back by my parents because my father's quite well known and influential, and I couldn't have the family name stained, so as to say. So it didn't matter what the daughter went through or what she was going through. All that mattered was his name is honoured.
And his reputation.
And his reputation.
And, your children who are now, 10, 12 years later than when you actually left your partner, you're still having to explain, aren't you, to this very day? So even though you're brave and you've come out as a survivor, it doesn't leave you, does it?
It never leaves you. So at the beginning, oh gosh, what's wrong with me today?
No, it's perfectly understandable.
So at the beginning, it was like Father's Day in the schools, they make it, and it's like, okay, ooh, thank you.
It's a VIP tissue.
So Father's Day, it was like, Mom, we don't have a dad, do we? We never see him. Because of course, other families, when you break up, you see them. And I don't know what's wrong with this.
It's been exhausted as well, and neither of us have slept. The anxiety today kept us up messaging all night.
And yesterday.
And yesterday. So that's what makes us emotional.
So that's one thing about Father's Day, having to deal with that. And then I would say, I'm Mummy and I'm Daddy. So while they were growing up during the years, we were going shopping. And suddenly they called to me and say, Daddy. And I tell you not the looks which I would get in public, because I'm sure they must have thought, like this is like some lesbian couple or something, because they don't look like me. And, so they must have definitely thought something like that. But I'm happy with it. They're my kids. And I would always respond to them. So that's one. Then they would find out, oh, but my friends, they've got a dad. They go and they spend the weekends. How come we don't? And to be honest, I wouldn't have it any other way, because he wanted it that way when we got divorced. It's written on the papers, no contact with non-resident parent. And I would rather say it's better to have one who is strong, who will look after them, protect them mentally, no matter how hard it is, rather than to have two who are always arguing, or you see things which actually destroy the child mentally, because they're going to grow up one day. The cycle of abuse will never break otherwise. My ex-husband saw his mother being dragged from room to room and things happening, and somewhere someone has to stand up and say enough. And that's what I wanted to do for my children. So it's gone much better. They are bigger and they see a strong mum, so they're very proud. Every time they see things, they see medals or they see awards, and they say, oh, that's our mum. And now the movie, and they've seen how many awards, and they're very happy.
Very proud of their mum. Yeah, I get that.
Life has changed. It gets easier, but you've got to go through that hard period to get to the other period. If you know what I mean. I do,
indeed. And Lindsay, you directed and produced the multi-award winning film Don't Cry.
Andrea was the producer with me. We worked together as a team, but she sourced all the costumes, she did the catering, she did as well as acting in it, because it was a small budget and it was a very small crew. I have to say thank you to two of the crew which are here, the director of photography, Violet, I can see you there, and the assistant director, Dion, I can see you there.
Hi, Dion.
Yes. So we had a small team, and it all worked. I think the hardest thing about this particular film and the process was Andrea reliving her real experiences. I mean, with an actress, they may draw upon true emotions, and actors do that. So it's method acting or Stanislavski, but Andrea was reliving her actual experience, and the way we'd chosen to shoot it, Violetta and I had chosen to do it as each scene was a single shot, so it wasn't distracting, so it would be more immersive, more like you were in the moment and there. That meant that one of the crying scenes was 17 takes, and it was so difficult for her children. They were laughing during the filming because it was uncomfortable. They'd never seen their mother cry because she's such a strong woman. They'd never seen, despite everything that she'd been through, they'd never seen her cry apart from when she was acting. Yeah. So it was obviously awkward and difficult, but at the same time, rather than it causing PTSD, Andrea tells me it was cathartic, and she found the experiencing healing as it is to tell your story. I mean, yesterday we went and we screened the film somewhere where we were speaking to a lot of women, and they found that they could then open up about their own experiences and what had actually happened to them.
So that's really the power of that film, isn't it? To raise awareness. And you must, having spoken to people yesterday, see how it can influence and inform that audience, but also a wider audience of policymakers, so that influence goes wider. So is that your purpose?
That would be wonderful. I mean, obviously, if we can implement that level of change, and I think that's it. I mean, someone suggested that we went round to schools, but to go round to lots of different schools with the film would take a long time. Whereas the beauty of having made a film is that you can share it with the world, and hopefully a lot of people can watch it, and yes, it can inspire all kinds of change.
Yeah, indeed. And Sammy, you've been waiting there very patiently down the end. I know you founded Sammy Art with an aim to inspire and share through creative communication, and your commissions include the Sutton Mosaic Memorial Bench, inscribed with the words, "Never commit, excuse or remain silent, remembering women and girls who died from male violence." So briefly, how effective is creative expression in all its different shapes and forms in helping women and children voice and deal with very painful experiences?
I think Lindsay explained that quite well through the sharing of the film last night. It enables conversation. I'm a playful creative. I do light-hearted, deep and meaningfuls very well. I use finger knitting a lot. And the finger knitting came about through a post-traumatic growth of my own. When my mum died from colon cancer, I took myself on a conscious grieving process, and I found a finger knitting tutorial just by accident, and that was my therapy. I spent 2 weeks finger knitting. I then started using finger knitting in the community, in community settings. I started yarn bombing my local high street, getting loads of people in the community making these chains that we were using to then decorate the street furniture. It was absolutely beautiful. And through creative play, people relax, they switch off their mind, they tune into whatever wonderful thing that's in front of them that they're dealing with, that they're using their hands for. And you know, they soften and they speak from a different space in the body, and that healing space and that heart space. So I'm very much a heart-centered approach to creativity. And then I ended up connecting with Lindsay at the time that I was decorating. But you can come and have a look at this later. You're not looking at my boobs, you're looking at there's one on my back as well. Look at that one. But this is the bench, and this is the inscription on it. I worked on this with my sister. We were very, very honoured and humbled to be commissioned by London Borough of Sutton to do this, because Sutton, there's a really strong, powerful movement of leadership women. One of them is here today, Patricia Park. She's the CEO of Successful Sutton Bid. We work together a lot on the high street, delivering creative projects. But I connected with Lindsay because I was making the bench at the time we were working on the film with Andrea through a mutual friend, and she said, we should do something together. I'm here now because of that. And the connection through to making the bench actually came through that very playful, creative finger knitting that had come from my own post-traumatic growth. So that's the power of the arts and my own personal story.
As you said, people relax, open up as well, and it comes in all different shapes and forms,
absolutely.
Doesn't it?
And if you can soften the tone and you open people up to then being able to share, and you open up to that healing and that peace that needs to flow. When we made this bench, my sister and I, we had a 10-day process of making the bench. It had been preceding the actual making of the bench with 60 participants taking part in heart-making workshops at another space and discussing the topic, supported by Reclaim Sutton Streets. And the chair, she couldn't make it today, Sarah McGuinness. She's a very powerful local woman that's doing a lot locally, Reclaim Sutton Streets. You can look that up. Then every little piece of the mosaic, these broken pieces, all put together made one beautiful whole, which is very much what we are as a community. We don't have to all think the same. We can think differently. We don't all have to agree, but we can be unified in the fact that we can communicate through our diversity and our inclusive nature. And creativity opens that up. And if you imagine that the arts, if you put the arts in sort of the centre of a bike wheel, then all of the incredible work that MPs like Jess and Sarah and Louisa here, all of the things, the mechanisms, the machine that runs this country, if that comes through the arts, you get a different energy. You get that ability to really tap in to people's emotion, and we need to connect. And creativity is that connection.
Beautifully
through
put.
the film, through finger knitting, whatever it is.
Thank you, Sammy. That's beautifully put as well. Indeed. Thank you for your support as well today. We have a message from the Domestic Abuse Commission, which I mentioned earlier. I was going to read out Nicole Jacobs, which I'll read out a couple of the paragraphs here, and I'll get a response from you in just a moment, Andrea. I'm really sorry that due to prior commitment, I'm unable to attend this really important event with this amazing panel and Andrea's very powerful film. I can't underestimate the importance of recognising the survivor's voice in both creating and bringing about changes to policy. Every day we hear directly from survivors who contact my office, and we use their experiences to inform the work that we do. Ensuring that victims and survivors are at the heart of the work that we do is one of my priorities, which is why we've recently recruited a lived experience engagement lead. I want to make sure that victims and survivors are fully involved in a meaningful way. Jackie Gilbank will spend the next few weeks developing a proper strategy for our work with survivors, and I look forward to sharing that as soon as I can. And I think there's a strategy that's coming out in spring of this year as well. So whether that's tied in with that piece of work, I'm not sure. And as I said, we did get a message from the Domestic Abuse Commissioner. Many of you will be aware of the Commissioner. It covers England and Wales, an independent voice that speaks on behalf of victims and survivors. And the Commissioner uses her statutory powers, which are set out in the Domestic Abuse Act, Act to raise public awareness and to hold both agencies and government to account in tackling domestic abuse. So, Andrea, what's your reaction to the Commissioner's statement?
I think that we need more survivors to be speaking up. I think that they need to be involved in policy making, in change, in the police, in government. The two ladies earlier did say that there is lack of political will. I have a lot of will, trust me. And I think people who are like that, who've got so much of willpower and passion, need to be in these kind of places, helping those who are already doing what they are doing. And I think that's what we really need, because there are not many survivors who want to come forward and speak. I do plaster my face all over because I want people to recognize me so they can come out. Let me just make it sure, that everybody knows it's not for fame that I do it, but I do it because I made a vow to take this up, and I'm going to devote my whole life to it, that is there. Also, it's to encourage people not to feel scared, because I've realized that when you are afraid, that's how abusers get their power, because they keep you down and they think you're not going to speak. There's no help out there. Nobody is going to come forward. But the amount of people I've seen come forward since I've been speaking, it's very emotional, sometimes draining, but it's also rewarding. Yesterday we had an experience like that. I can't say where we went because of security reasons, but Dion actually, full credit to her, because she took us there unknowingly. She led us to this place. We were in a room of 30 people. We were so shocked because none of them knew the other had gone through something for years, men, women, everyone. And it was liberating to see their emotion, although it was draining on ours. And we felt, very emotional after that. But it's inspiring to see that how when one person speaks out, others start to speak out. And we need to eliminate fear. My ex was 20 stone. At that time, I was 8 stone. I won't tell you how many stones I am now. But to be honest, there was a lot of fear factor, a lot of coercive control. Mental abuse is more hard for anyone to understand and get out of than the physical abuse. I went through mental abuse. I was called fat, ugly, a lot of other things. It's all captured in the book, which I don't want to take up everyone's time by going into now. And to get out of all of that, I didn't go for counseling. It's a question which I get asked. I didn't go for counseling at all. I looked at my children. And that was my thing which got me out of this, because I had to find something which was bigger than me. My life didn't matter. It didn't matter at all. It was the next, what mattered. They mattered to me. So for love of them, I decided to get out. Yeah. And now that love has turned into a humanitarian kind of an aspect. And I'm hearing them speak about how many people are dying every week. That did make me very emotional inside, especially after yesterday, because we were both, all three of us were so emotional yesterday, and so I think it's good what she speaks about, but also survivors need to be involved. I mean, I have a dream to go into prisons. I want to go into prisons, and next House of Lords and then the UN. So, it's like just getting that will out there. So,
and the film will achieve that as well, won't it? It'll take it to another level, I think, as well. Well, we're going to do a bit of a musical chairs. I'm going to get you to sit next to me, because that reaches part 2 to the end of its conclusion. I want to thank Andrea, Lindsay and Samia. Andrea's going to stay up here.